Welcome aboard another edition of A Strange New Pod. I'm your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside the best crew in the fleet until they accuse me of senile. Our comms officer and resident enterprise sympathizer, Rear Admiral Eric. Our resident science officer who finally got an appointment with Dr. Crusher to take a look at that hip, Ensign Brittany. And the lieutenant who wants to let you know that he saw it happen. He watched it happen.
I saw it happen.
Don't tell me it
didn't happen.
Nero,
Ensign-
Faro, wherever you are.
Ensign Aaron is stuck on DS9 right now after a misunderstanding with Quark, and will be back next week. Where Quark is, trouble follows, and Ensign Aaron, I think, owed Quark some latinum. So, yeah.
That man loves me. It's written all over his
Loves
back.
me.
Still the best line.
If you didn't,
It's all over his back.
know from what Brittany just said, we are going to be talking finales on this episode. But before we do that, I say glory to you and your houses. Welcome back. As always, thanks to Sam Dillard and Samo Studios for our intro and outro music, and also a big welcome to our Twitch collective joining us tonight. I don't have this written on the outline. I've said it a couple times already, though. I just want to say and give a big round of applause and great job to you, Brittany, and Aaron, and Spotted Giraffe, and Lisa J for our show last week. You guys were just absolutely incredible, and it was just, I think, a really important episode of our podcast. So well done. If you haven't listened to episode 34 yet, documenting the Nichelle Nichols documentary, I'm going to forget the name of it, Woman in Motion, you should not only check out the documentary, but you should check out our episode as well. So with that, I say this week, it's finale week. We are going to be talking Star Trek finales. I was going to say this off mic, but I'll just say it now. It's kind of funny. I was thinking about this driving over to Brittany's house to drop off some pins, which we're wearing to show off a little bit later. And you know, I really think that we probably should have kept this as a TNG finale episode only, but I think it's important to talk about the fact that TOS didn't really get a finale, and we're going to get into that. But really, this is a TNG finale show. But we'll get into
era
it.
or just TNG?
Well, TNG era. TNG era. The TNG era.
We've talked about just the TNG.
We have. It's true. It's true. So this week we're doing that, and then this is also leading up. This has been, just finale week at Strange New Pod. This is leading up to something that we've been plugging for a very long time, and a very good reason to join our Patreon. And that's because on Saturday's very special of Drunk Space Nine, which is being renamed for one episode and one episode only, Wild Tribble Chase, we're gonna attempt, and the key word in that sentence is attempt, to break down the Enterprise finale. These are the voyages, because we're going to torture ourselves. Luckily, Ensign Aaron has made a really good drink recipe with some whiskey and some pink champagne. So at least we'll have a good time talking about it. And Eric, you're joining us for that endeavor.
I hate that fucking episode.
Gonna be great.
I watched it today just in case we were going to mention it tonight.
We can't really talk about it tonight because Giraffe is saving it for Saturday. She has not watched it yet, and she doesn't want to be spoiled at the atrocity of that episode. So
Drink
Exactly.
Wait, this means I can avoid it still? What?
yo, you can still avoid it. We're not talking
just
about
avoid
this
it.
episode.
You don't even need to
I
watch
will.
it after you watch the show. Just don't watch
No.
it. Just don't watch it.
But that's actually a really good reason to join our Patreon. And Brittany, how can people go ahead and do that? And what do you get for joining our Patreon collective?
Well, if you love our show so much that you want to use money even though that doesn't exist in Star Trek, you can head over to strangenewpod.com and select our Patreon tab, which will shoot you over to our Patreon page where you can have a bunch of different tiers. I think it's $1, $2, $5, $10.
That's right.
I did it. It's so hard between our two shows. I'm like, the numbers. But our tiers go up as different levels of the ship. And you get lots of awesome perks. You get shoutouts on our show. Like if you reach a certain tier, and then you get access to Erin's, Drunk Space Nine cocktail videos where she teaches you how to make the drink that they're going to do on the show.
Which we just dropped today. It is out in the world. It is in the wild.
And some of our members get pins that happen for being a member, like our Badgie pin. And then this is the Pride Month pin. So we usually do them quarterly, but this
and
was
that's
like a
for
special
10 forward members.
10 forward members.
Badgie.
Yeah. And here's a close, if we can get a close look
We
at
have
it.
lots of awesome pins. And there'll be more. It's very inclusive.
The next one is Vulcan themed.
Ooh, Vulcan themed. I like it. I'm excited. That's awesome. Who wants to do our thank yous?
Ooh, I could do that.
Do it. Hit it.
Let me get the list up here. For our Patreon plug, a collective thanks to all of our collective members: Simon Stager, Jeff Reeve, Mariah Gossett, Ann Bradley, Spotted Giraffe, Rob, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kang Wee, JD, Takako Nagumo, Carrick Kennedy, Mark, Dana Pearson, Fernando Nogales, and SMK.
Woo!
Woo.
Good job.
Thank you, and glory to all of your houses.
Yeah,
Blessed.
well done, Hawk. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Oh, maybe I'll save the Vulcan theme for next year. Rob said that it would be better in April. Although it's so nice. It's so
It
nice.
is. I'm excited to see it because you've done great work with the first two pins. So, and I think with the Pride Month ones, we'll do what we did with our lower decks giveaway. We'll do a second and third prize for that. The only way to get these is at our 10 forward patron level. But if you join our contest, which we'll announce next month, to win a Steelbook copy of Star Trek Discovery Season 3, you will have a chance to win these as well. So, anything else, guys? Anything that you saw news-wise that we should bring up? I know Strange New Worlds has like an awesomely diverse directing portfolio, which is awesome to see, and they're now filming episode 8, which is exciting. Still waiting on a trailer.
I drove by their studios
Oh
a couple
yeah.
days ago, and I was like, I wonder if I could break into this building.
Don't let the internet go.
And then Strange New Pod would not be welcome at any Star Trek convention ever.
Nope.
Ever. No. With that, I'll stop talking about things that are legal, and I'll get to the Strange New Loop. And this week, guys, on our Discord and on Twitter, we've been talking about some of our favorite bridge layouts from Star Trek. And the one that shocked me that's getting all the love is the Enterprise D. So I want to ask you guys, instead of what your favorite bridge may be, right? So the Enterprise D, E, Voyager, whatever, Miranda class, if you're into that kind of thing, what would be your desired layout? Like, where would you want your people if you were captain on a starship?
Okay, so captain's chair, instead of being in the middle, put that shit to the front. I want to be right up there. I want my face on the glass. I want to see the stars, right? Assuming I'm captain, which I probably won't be because, let's be honest, insanity. I want to slide. Probably to go to where food is, but if you're really feeling it, I want it to go to the warp core. Could you imagine? Anytime there's an engineering problem, you're just like...
They actually have that
right down
on Enterprise. They have a fireman pole that goes down to engineering.
It's actually true. They do.
But they never
Yes.
used it in the show. I know.
Well, they're idiots.
They
They put
really
it in
are.
and they're like, we're going to use it in season 5.
Nope.
What? We got
No.
canceled? What?
I'm thinking more so like the Jeffries tubes become slides.
Ooh. And I said to Brittany,
Yeah, that'd
I
be
said to
pretty great.
Brittany on Discord that she was channeling her inner Brad Boimler to get to the warp
Yeah.
core faster.
Well, the thing is, like, Star Trek's cool. I'm not so huge on like what ship layout's my favorite, what shit, like all these different things, and I'm just like the Defiant's neat, but also I don't care where the couch is, you know. So I was trying to think of, like, if I designed a starship.
Wait, there's
though,
a couch?
Why not?
if you gave me like a Mountain Dew and a piece of paper, like a blueprint, and you're like, go put the furniture wherever, do this, like you would get some interesting stuff. There
Foosball
would be a
table in the back.
replicator. Yep, a replicator would be up there. Janeway would have never had to go anywhere else for her coffee. She would just turned over and been like, Tuvok, what's going on with our sensor array? And then would have grabbed her coffee and been like, yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't they have a replicator on the bridge, right?
There
Like,
really should be a replicator on the
they probably
bridge.
want
Sure,
water.
Think of the night shift. Harry Kim and the night shift for like
Oh,
the
poor
whole
Harry
7
Kim.
years. Could have had a damn something.
I have
No,
to
it
read
seems
this on...
it seems really unprofessional to have food on the bridge.
No.
You
I mean,
wouldn't have
Janeway's
crumbs
drinking
in-
coffee.
yeah.
Not like
Right.
It's not like Brad Boimler would bring nachos to his like
I'd eat like a donut.
console, but you know. I have to read this
Mariner
comment on
eating
Twitch
ramen.
from Takako real quick. Just joined the stream and was confused for a moment by Hawk's background between his head and Patrick Stewart's.
It's the double Patrick
Grow
Stewart.
the beard, Hawk. Grow the beard.
No, the couch would be in Brittany's ready room, and she'd be like, Jadzia, would you come to my ready room, please?
Mm.
Sir. Keep this PG-13 for the kids.
No,
That would
All
still
right,
be
P-Dax.
PG-13.
We're
that
gonna
would
get to
still
the
be
finale.
PG-13.
Oh, you guys are gonna be shocked by how I feel about the DS9 finale.
I don't know if I'll be
Not
shocked. We'll
really.
see. We'll see. We'll
But
see.
anyway, that's vaguely what I want from a starship.
Who else wants to put out their desired bridge layout?
Well, you know what? I'll go with my favorite bridge just because I want to start with it. I love the Kelvinverse Enterprise bridge just because I love how big the screen is. That being said, I love the layout of the Galactica. So I would love like a tactical
CIC.
thing in the middle, and then like everyone would be around it. Like I think that's such a practical set, and you know the captain doesn't really need to just sit in one spot. He can go around.
Yeah.
You
Whether
know?
you're going to war or going to warp,
Yeah.
you need to keep your table in the middle.
You know, I think some like casual viewers of Star Trek just think sometimes like does he just sit in the captain chair for 8 hours at a
Yeah,
time,
right?
like awkwardly waiting? No, that's why they have a ready room. He goes in there, he drinks his tea,
And he
if a
takes a nap.
situation, if a situation arises, you know, like Data, come to my ready room and tell me what's up, or
That's where the
Jadzia, come to
replicators
my
are.
ready room.
Right? So if they want to drink, they have to go to the
Keep your name
captain.
out of your mouth.
So
Yeah, definitely. A bridge would need the lens flares. Thank you, SMK. I forgot about that.
yes.
So I imagine
Um,
they'd sound like in space.
I like it,
Space
Eric.
is a vacuum, and there is no sound. 'cause There's
No,
no air for
no
it to
sound.
travel through.
I like the circular idea, like of Battlestar Galactica, because no one is ahead of anyone else. They're all sort of equal.
Right.
So there's no importance on anyone else.
Yeah. Hawk.
So yeah, the captain's chair definitely has to be in the center, and that that is just where the captain's chair belongs. Given that, I always thought the TNG style was a little inefficient in that there was no way of turning that chair in that. This is why I think like Discovery's deck layout was a lot better. In that captain's chair could turn 360.
It's got a swivel.
It's
In
got
this
a
day and
swivel.
age, it's got a swivel.
It's true.
You can see what people are doing. Seeing who's playing
sure no one's
Galaga when
playing
they're supposed to
Galaga.
be working.
Same joke.
Samesies, nice.
I love it.
The D didn't work
Nice.
either because it was all wood paneling and carpet. Ew.
The
Yeah.
wood, but Riker kept the wood on the Titan. I like it at the tactical station.
Of course he would.
I know.
course.
I know.
You guys gotta stop saying D and wood in the same sentence. My
I mean,
brain
but
is just.
but Riker loves wood in more ways than one, as we know.
But he's a jazz
Right.
man. I don't understand.
Riker and
Oh.
the BDE.
Indeed, indeed. Hawk, did you go or did I miss that?
Enterprise D, right?
Yeah.
center.
Well, no, I'm saying like Discovery layout was a lot better. The only thing I would add is probably more panels here.
Non-stop
Displays,
panel.
readouts. Yeah.
I want it on
Replicator.
the ceiling.
Panels everywhere, like the
I want
like
people
the
to be like
Kelvinverse.
sensors indicate.
Exactly.
Mhm.
They come back to you in 5 minutes. They just took a whole lap of the ship, and they're like, "Yeah, we're good."
And no
Shields
no
at 100%.
replica no replicator on the
Replicator
bridge.
Replicators everywhere.
But
No.
wait, Hawk, what if the replicator on the bridge only replicated beverages?
You shouldn't
No,
have. You shouldn't have
he's
drinks by
still-
electronics.
What
Bad.
if-
You really
Ah.
should not. I don't know like
Ah.
how watertight their technology is.
What if
I
the
don't know.
replicator on the bridge only replicated other people?
Ooh.
Like, ooh, here's another captain.
Here's a
Like,
Meeseeks.
how many times did they get like
Amazing.
one little photon torpedo, whatever, and like half the bridge crew's like, ugh.
We
go to
don't
sick
need
bay.
Captain Picard spilling his Earl Grey on his crotch. Is I think what Hawk
Exactly.
is trying to say.
That's why it has
Yeah.
cup holders. Cup holders.
Yeah.
Cup holders would be Earl Great.
Oh,
At-
oh.
Get
Oh,
off my bridge.
And I guess I shall.
Bye-bye. For me, so my favorite bridge, I guess we're just gonna go and tell our favorite bridges anyway, is the Enterprise E. I really like the Enterprise E, but I also really like the Voyager bridge. I've never understood having the 3 seats on a bridge. I'm like, really, you just need the first officer and the captain, and really, you only need the captain's chair if we're gonna really get down to it. But I liked that like Janeway and Chakotay could hold hands.
I was
I've
gonna
done
say, like,
that.
hold hands and
So
sit in their love seat.
yeah. So I would like bastardize, I think, like the Enterprise E bridge with the Voyager bridge. I would have a coffee replicator like on my console. So literally I could just tap coffee
It'd
on
be
it
in the
and it would
armrest.
just it would replicate right into my hand. And that's what I need. Tactical station, I would have, I think, like, I don't know, a hybrid of I never liked the arch, the big wood arch, but I don't know. A tactical is important. I would have helms be the Enterprise E helms. I'd have a big screen. See, and I really also love the Enterprise, Pike's Enterprise layout from Disco.
Oh
too.
yeah.
Lots of consoles, and lots
But he
of
makes
red.
it look tactical.
He does. So, but I definitely would want the 2 chairs and not the Tom Paris like swerving back and forth on the really big. Like I would still have like a con and a pilot, right? Or is it ops and pilot?
Yeah,
I would have
Khan's
the
pilot.
2. I would have the 2. So
A statue of Khan right there.
indeed. SMK is saying the Hathaway had the captain and the helmsman right next to each other. Yeah, I think you're right, and that would be that.
But the helmsman blows up so often.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? Usually they're the first to go.
Why you
don't
got to
want that.
replicate more people?
No. Brittany, that's called cloning.
I know, and they deserve rights too.
We don't need to get into a Tuvix conversation, okay?
Or
We
a
know
Trek
how this
We'll
turns
conversation.
out.
to nix that in the bud.
No.
Nope.
All right, guys, let's get into the episode. We are talking finales, and as I said at the top of the show, we probably just should have focused on TNG finales, but we're going to talk about the quote unquote original series finale called Turnabout Intruder, which is
Oh
not
boy.
actually a finale. It was obviously a very different time back in the 60s, but I think we can all agree this was just a weird way to end Star Trek, especially because there was no Star Trek for 17 years after this episode or something like that. So
I
yeah,
thought it was like 11.
I don't know.
69 to
animated?
80? Isn't that?
When did the motion picture come
Oh,
out?
the motion picture was 79, I think, wasn't it?
Okay.
Oh, 10 years. So
So 10. Okay, so not 17. Oh, the animated series doesn't count. Come on.
No.
Come on, Spotted Giraffe.
I mean,
no.
it's Trek.
Uh,
I keep forgetting that this episode is a finale.
Did they know it was canceled at this point, or did they just already film it?
no,
Like-
so they did, but this kind of goes to my point. Like the 60s were a different time and the show was canceled, but series finales just weren't a thing yet. So they just didn't do one. Like it wasn't a popular thing to do. So it just ends up being another episode of Trek and just a really bad episode of Star Trek at that. Like it's not good. If you want to talk about bad finales, and we're going to talk about the Enterprise one on Saturday, this could theoretically be worse simply because one, it's not a finale, and
No.
two, it's a really bad episode of Star Trek.
Turn
Yeah.
around. Every now and then you get a body swap with some crazy lady who wants to kill you.
That was good on the fly.
Thanks. I was just
Turn
thinking.
around.
Did anybody have anything they wanted to add about this? Did you watch it? Did you think it
It-
was
I
as
watched
weird
it.
as
It
it
was
was?
fun to watch with other people on
Yeah.
Discord. I had a
It-
blast tapping away on my phone.
Yeah, it's just a bad episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
Like,
and
it's
then-
just-
Seemed-
yeah,
like, it's just something that it's just not going to age well, you know. It hasn't aged well. What else to say about it? In that?
Also,
There's
Kirk is like the only one who's actually like putting all the
Acting?
energy. Like Shatner was acting, quote unquote, but like of all the characters, even it seemed like Kirk had like the most involvement, other than just the body switching. But like he was really like intense in that episode, and everybody else is just kind of like there with a tricorder.
if I'm going
were
out,
like-
I'm going out with a bang.
They're like, damn,
Shatner.
the captain's acting pretty whack. Do we need to mutiny? I was like, I mean, probably.
I mean, and so many people brought up the amount of times that like Shatner or Kirk has acted weird on the bridge, and it's usually been because of like something influencing him. Like, come on, guys.
There's got to be a protocol by now. They got to be like, oh, captain's acting weird again. Beep, beep,
Hit
beep.
the-
Like,
hit the
if this
Kirk
was lower
button.
decks, they'd have a
Sure.
cage for him somewhere.
Giraffe wrote,
Look at that.
Nimoy was
bookends,
so dead
cage.
inside.
Yeah, he was. He was so done with Spock. At
Yeah,
that point
Nimoy looked
already.
exhausted.
Yeah,
And I was like, Spock, I've been there, son.
and yeah, I
Okay.
think DeForest Kelly wasn't looking grand either. But Majel Barrett's hair was wildly good, and it
Mhm.
changed like twice in the episode too.
She was like, finally, I get funding for this, and we're getting canceled.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's the other thing to talk about this episode. White Uhura.
Oh.
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, that Ahura wasn't in the episode at all, and I was so flabbergasted. I think I actually
What?
said I am
I
flabbergasted.
didn't notice.
Yeah, I know. I
Because
noticed
they
that, and I was
replaced
like,
her with white comms officer.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Like
remember
I
that.
was like, get that earpiece out of your ear. That's a Hora's earpiece. How dare
is-
you?
What is the story behind that?
How dare you stand where she stood? She was apparently off doing music stuff. Like she
Yeah,
oft
she had
did.
known that they were getting canceled, so she went and took other opportunities, which is totally
Good for
fair.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm
Um,
glad she was doing something more productive while this episode happened. in
it's
a way.
almost a blessing that she wasn't on this episode because it was bad. It was bad. But like her replacement was equally just like it was so. It's just like you see Uhura every single episode. All of a sudden, it's like same figure, like kind of the same like hair, like 60s
almost.
hairstyle, like earrings and the thing in the ear, and just like, really, you're gonna do this? Really?
How
Like,
dare you
come
stand
on.
where she stood?
This
Yeah.
was ranked the 4th worst episode
Oh,
by
dude,
Screen Rant.
I hate you.
Oh, sorry, was that a trivia thing you did?
I think
I put it
Giraffe
in
is
fun.
reminding
Well,
us that she wasn't there every episode of the
Oh.
series.
I mean,
Well,
pretty
she was often
close, to be fair.
often missing.
I I actually had that as a fun fact, but we'll read it anyway.
Oh, there it is. I did read
It was
the
rated
fun
by
facts.
Screen Rant and Den of Geek as the 4th worst episode of the Star Trek franchise and 7th worst episode of the. Oh, I wrote franchise twice of the Star Trek franchise and 7th worst of, I think, TOS. That might have been reversed, but it was not good. It was not good. Yeah. So. Yep. Not a lot to say that, but I guess this is the question, and some people were
The
talking
effects
about.
were fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
sure. Can everybody do their best? Kirk getting the thing taken out.
With a. I'm sorry, are they done yet? Okay, I gotta wait.
Some of us were talking on Discord about if it's fair to even count this as a series finale, or do you count the original series finales as the films, and specifically Star Trek 6?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say Star Trek
Yeah.
6, not not Generations.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think
not-
Undiscovered Country is the good send off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They each got their little
They got their
Moment.
signatures.
yeah.
Yeah.
aw.
At Endgame still.
Then fly our
That's
part.
for another rant.
They're apart then.
Yeah, I guess
so good.
it's a good thing the movies happened because I think if the movies never did, then like those poor early Star Trek fans would have just been so distraught. You know, they were doing cons for years,
Mhm.
for like a whole decade after that ended.
You can
And we wouldn't be
imagine
doing
why
this
they were
podcast.
Rough. Yeah,
why they
I
were
get why.
why they were so adamant because
They're like,
that's how
"That's
they
it."
ended. No, this is not how it ends. Send
Yeah.
candy bars to Paramount or whatever they did back then. I
They're like,
don't
where the hell's Uhura? Damn it! That'd be
why they
right
started-
up to
That's
Paramount's
why they
office.
started writing fan fiction, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It
That
legitimately
because
was.
they wanted Kirk and Spock to just.
Bang, do it.
know.
No
Boing.
Mhm.
kidding.
I mean that too. That then leads to the banging, the ponfaring. Sorry, proper term.
That was a
Uh,
fun far stretch for you.
Oh no. Let's move on to a much better finale. And we've just mentioned this on like multiple podcast episodes that we've recorded, and needless to say, it's favorite. I'll go on the record for the 1 millionth time and say that this is the best series finale of any television show ever made. It is the bar. I would teach it in a film course and say this is how you do a finale. What about you guys? What are your thoughts on All Good Things?
Best
I would
finale
not
ever.
say what you said, but it's a great finale. It's just
Hmm.
off the top of my head. There's so many like I've seen shows that have equally like emotional finales and things I enjoy, and I admit that the poker scene for sure is like the best ending. Like that's an amazing ending moment. But as far as the rest of the episode is concerned, like there's some really good moments, and there's sometimes where I'm just like, oh my god, Kirk. I mean Picard. Oh my god, figure it out already. So it's one of those things where it's just a long finale. And some of the characters aren't necessarily exactly where you want them to be. Like you're like, why is this Troy not with Riker? Like it's there's some things that are like a little weird. So I wouldn't say it's like perfect, but it's really good as far as TV finales are concerned. Like I consider it a top finale for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
I love it. Of the Trek finales, it's probably my favorite.
It's definitely the best out of the Trek finales, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one that you can have like a random person just come and watch and it'll still feel like a good episode. Like, you
Mhm.
won't have to know any prior knowledge. They all seem
Yeah.
Mhm.
like fully developed characters at that point, even in that episode.
Yeah.
It's also like a good episode plot wise
Mhm.
because it's such an interesting premise where it's like, why is Picard theoretically moving throughout time like this? Why is he the only one that can see these things are happening, and he's trying to solve that anomaly? And then, of course, a Q appearance is always fun.
Exactly.
So overall, it's like an engaging episode. Engage, get it?
Engage.
Why
I
I
keep
love
getting
this the
distracted by the
best.
beard.
It's such a good finale for a series in that, because it's also a great bookend in that, you know, it's like if you go back as far as the beginning in that and then like take this episode and that, they are basically bookends to this entire series in that. And it pulls off this amazing trick in that as a finale, it's great, but at the same time, where it leaves you off, it it's the universe is still open in that, you know, it's not like it's not a closure in that, it's an end of a run of a TV series, but you know, the universe is still there to expand upon.
Yes. And
Yeah.
like you said, the trial is always happening. It's just beginning.
It
for
never
Picard.
ends.
It never ends. And now we have a show. And two.
Yeah, this episode is just so good. I cry every single time at the poker scene. The minute that John Luke starts looking around, he's like, should have done this ages ago.
You were
That
always
moment
welcome.
is just
Yep.
so freaking beautiful, and that crew, nothing's ever going to beat that crew for me. They just everyone. I mean, look at them in real life. They're all best friends. You know, it's such a testament. You don't always get that on television shows. There's some animosity between cast members. I mean, these people are all super close with each other, and that's amazing. And you could tell even in that poker scene, just that's family right there. And just the fact that, you know, not a lot of television shows will do a series finale and make a show literally come full circle from episode 1 to episode however many episodes TNG had into season 7, right? It's just incredible, like from costuming to everything. Bringing back characters, which is something we're going to talk about with the DS9 finale. You get to see Tasha. You get references to things that happen. Kalmini is back as the most important man in Starfleet. Chief O'Brien, and there's just and everybody just gets a moment. And then obviously, who doesn't nerd out over the Enterprise D that has a needless third nacelle, but it's still just badass
it's
and
cool.
epic. It's so cool.
Makes them
It's so
faster.
I'm sold on that idea.
I know we kind of already kind of went into what makes it good, but why is it work? Let's go into a little bit more detail. Why does it work not just as a Star Trek finale, but as a television series finale? What makes this that standard? What makes this the bar, and why is it so well regarded?
Well, it gives every character their own moment to shine. Like, no one seems like they're taking a back seat in it, or at least not really. And like, everyone's sort of on top of their game. Like, acting wise, it's so good. The music is like probably some of the best throughout the series. And you know, they threw all that money in to get all those special effects for that last sequence. Like, they just it felt like a finale where everyone who loved the show worked on it and did their best.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely felt like that. And you had we'll go into that in fun facts, but you had a really good writing team on this episode. Yeah.
So there's been different episodes of Trek series where they involve seeing the crew or the ship at different points in time. And I think the reason this finale is so good is because you have grown to love this crew over all these years the show is on TV. And then you get to see them at like the beginning, the present point that we know, and then a future that could possibly happen. And seeing how they grow apart in the future like hurts you as somebody who's watching the show, because you feel like, I've been with them for so long, these people are like a family. I can see how the divide happens, but I hope it isn't going to stay that way. And by the end of the show, the fact that he goes into like the poker room, or the room to play poker, and like is more involved in them and engaged, and he, you know, told them about everything along the way. It's the possibility of also that future won't happen now, because they know that disconnect could occur. So it gives you that sort of like hope and that feeling of like, normally in episodes you're kind of like, if a temporal thing happens, you're kind of upset that, the thing you see in the future doesn't really count, or vice versa. But in this case, you're like, I'm kind of glad they're not exactly going to be at that point in the future. Like, now it could be a different way. Like, I want them to stay together. So I think that the finale works so well in that way because, I mean, leading up to that point, shows that came before, obviously we saw TOS. Not a lot of shows went for as long or had like big series finales, without getting canceled or something like that. So to see a show that wraps up most stories so well at the end and has such a touching moment where literally, like, I cry every time I hear him sit down at the poker table and talk to them. I'm just like, the sky's the limit, and I tear up. It's like chef's kiss ending, like a tight little knot, but it's also like there's a chance to open that knot again and keep exploring. It's so nice.
So for me, I guess what makes it a great finale for a Star Trek series, I think a lot of series when they're planning the final episode, and they always need some sort of a kind of a boss to
final boss,
a final boss for them to defeat. And that this, as I think what I mentioned earlier, in that it could be any Eric mentioned this, it could be any Star Trek episode, and that you could drop a person in that and they wouldn't really have to know everything in that, but at the same time, they found a way to make the stakes bigger than ever in that, it wasn't just fighting the Borg or something like that. It was humanity that they were fighting for, and the end of all humanity, and the final boss ends up actually being Picard himself when you really think about it.
Well, and not just Picard, but the fact that and you can't even call him a baddie, right? But just the fact that it's Q, right? Like Q, who is a nuisance, but at the end of the day, kind of actually Jean-Luc's friend in a really weird, fucked up way, but friend nonetheless. Yeah. So it's great that there's like no actual bad guy, and this finale works so well. No, well said, Hawk.
Thank you.
Favorite moments from this episode?
The whole thing.
The whole thing.
Like, there's a lot of really good moments. I'll say, aside from like the very end, the moment that I like equally with that is like when Picard finally realizes what Q's trying to tell him about like why and how the temporal anomaly is happening. And the way he has to break it down for him, he's like, oh, you're finally getting it. And I'm just like, this is such a good Q moment. Because like, he does care about the people he fucks with a lot. Yeah. And especially Picard the most. Of all the people he messes with, Picard, like, he tries his best, but he can't really just shove him away, punch him, tell him off like Janeway. And it's just realizing that this whole thing is a trial, and also you caused this. So the only way to stop it is for you to not do it in the first place. It's just, I love time shit like that, and it's so meaningful.
Also, when Q starts talking to Picard at the end, when he talks about how he expanded his horizon, like
just for one short moment, right? Like was able to see things he might not have actually thought of. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let's see, good scene, standout scene. Like, well, my rewatch, and that was the scene with Geordi and Picard and that in the vineyard. Great scene, especially between the two of them and that. But when Picard starts hallucinating in that, before we even know what's exactly is happening in that, I thought it's a moment that reminded me, like, elder care is like a really, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
I also like when he gets mad about the tea when he's visiting.
I could have swore it was Darjeeling.
Yeah. He's like such a grumpy, angry man, and then she's just like, "Oh yeah, this is Earl Grey," and he's like, sure? Like the dirty look. I'm just like, oh my God.
I want to read, before I do mine, I want to read a couple of comments on Twitch. Rob said, and this is for Hawk and Eric, you guys probably remember that All Good Things was an event. It was playing on the Jumbotron at the Sky Dome.
Yep.
City TV interviewing people at the Dome during commercial breaks. It was a big deal when it happened.
I wanted to go huge. So badly. So badly I wanted to go.
That's why I feel like part of me not having as much of an emotional attachment to it, as much as I love TNG, is just that I didn't watch these shows when they happened. I'm sure this would be groundbreaking if I saw it when it did, but I've grown up, seen other series finales, and then have gone back and watched TNG afterwards, and then saw the finale, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good finale.
Yeah.
It was also part of those years as a teenager when you're just like, because this was what, grade 7-ish, 8-ish for me. So like when you're getting really hardcore into your fandom at that point, you're just like, Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was learning clarinet at that moment. I was like, gotta learn the TNG, gotta learn Voyager, I need to learn DS9, all of it on the clarinet.
Nice.
And then Talix on Twitch also says that Q is the original frenemy, which is absolutely
That's true.
accurate.
Mhm.
Two big favorite moments for me. That's when Q takes Jean-Luc to the beginning of life, and he looks, and just the way he, and we talked about this on Discord, but it's always one of my favorite moments where he says, "Oh, you're just goo," and the way he says goo,
And he
and
goes like,
Goo.
and he's just, but look,
He put
the atoms
sand in
aren't forming. Just the way he's so casual about life not happeing, and it's like,
Mhm.
but because he's just like, Jean-Luc, you need to get the fucking picture. Like you need to get it. And look, you're just goo, and this goo isn't even gonna happen if you don't get the fucking picture. Just get the picture.
he's like, you are
And-
lower than ants to me. Get
Yeah,
with the program.
I love it. And then my other favorite moment this episode is probably not one that people would think of right off the bat, but that's when they're gonna go into the temporal, whatever, the anti-time temporal banana thing, and Tasha and Worf are kind of questioning Picard's orders, and he gives that speech. He's like, I know that you don't have a good reason to trust me right now, but I'm asking you to take a leap of faith, because even though you don't know it yet, you're the best crew in Starfleet, and I would trust you all of my lives. And even though they don't know this guy really, they're just like, this is Jean-Luc Picard. If he says we're going to this nebula now, we're going in, and they go in, and then it's so
They're like
it's-
touching speech.
yeah,
I guess I'll do it.
yeah, exactly. It was like it's like speech armor, and it worked. So I
Oh.
I love that. Yeah. And then Spotted Drafford. I saw the finale the first time they showed it on TV in Europe forever later, but nobody cared. So yeah. Oh no. No.
That hurts.
I guess the one thing I'll finally ask is, and I think we've all kind of already said it, is All Good Things actually not Star Trek, the television series finale standard bearer? Has anything topped this as a series finale that you've watched?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I still love it. It's awesome. But, I mean, it's had like, what, 20, 30 years of television
Mhm.
since then? So something's bound to have happened that was bigger.
Not necessarily, but that's also
Yeah.
based a lot on opinion.
it's definitely
Exactly.
one of the
It's all opinion.
yeah. It's also definitely one of the best sci-fi endings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sci-fi shows always have a hard time landing a
Yeah,
finale.
even having
Yeah.
endings.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah,
even of
sometimes-
sci-fi shows like Continuum, the ending of that show I feel like is just up there with this one. Like that one
That was a good show.
made me cry, blew me away.
God, that was a good show. I miss it.
Right?
You know, I'm trying to compare it, like, you know, when I originally saw the finale of BSG, and that for some reason I was left so cold with that one.
I know,
Yeah.
and I love the BSG finale. I still think this is miles better. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people don't like the BSG finale. I loved it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is it because Miles was in it? Is Miles better?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with yeah. It is the only thing that I could think of that comes to the top of my head that I've watched recently that could top it. And I still
She-Ra?
don't think it does. Yeah, is She-Ra, but I don't think it tops it. I think that finale is freaking
She was
amazing.
I
I
gotta
was
watch
never.
that show.
I was just
Gravity
never.
Falls,
I was never
She-Ra,
expecting
The Good
it.
regular
Place.
show,
The
I
Good
hear The Good
Place.
Place has a good finale too.
Avatar: Last Airbender, and Legend
Yep.
of Korra.
Yep.
Like most of these are even animated that I'm throwing up there. But like if I had to choose, like if my life was on the line, if a Q showed up and was like, which is the better TV finale, I'll be like, R.I.P. TNG.
Schitt's
like,
Creek. Oh.
right? Ugh. I will
Kim's
say though
Convenience?
that having a good finale like that back when TNG happened
Mhm.
definitely helps TV shows realize what makes a good finale.
Well, and
So
I
I'm
guess
not
that's
saying
what
that
I'm.
it's-
That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah,
is
It's not like
this,
the top bar, but it's like this is what you need to do to be good. If that
this
makes
is
any
the
sense. If
model
anything,
for it.
it's
Like,
the
this is the
bar.
blueprint of how to do
Yeah.
an amazing series finale.
I don't even
Yeah.
remember TV
The
shows
bar you
having.
want to shoot over.
Yeah, I don't remember TV shows having finales back then. Like,
Yeah, I don't either. But
You
I
know
think that
what?
was
I'm thinking MASH was the one that really started that
Mhm.
that
yes,
trend.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that also TNG was the first series finale that I ever watched on television. So
yeah,
um
maybe Cheers before it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is an exceptional finale, like Rob says, and it does a finale well. It's a good model,
yeah.
but I won't rank
What's
it as one of my
AGT?
top faves.
AGT.
All good things.
All good
Oh,
things.
good. Okay, sorry, I was thinking
Get on
of
my
it as a
level,
TV
Eric.
show.
Let's move on to Star Trek Deep Space Nine, What You Leave Behind. And this finale has some truly just amazing moments, but I think is also falls victim a little to the 90s, the
Oh my
later
God, yeah.
90s a
Do
bit.
you want to know what they left behind? Fucking Jadzia Dax.
They did.
Yeah.
This finale also has, I think, the unfortunate duty of following up the TNG finale not too many years later. I mean, what do you guys think? General thoughts on What You Leave Behind?
Well, they had to finish the Dominion War storyline, which should have had its own episode if they were going to do all this other stuff afterwards. So it's sort of, for me, like, I love this show. Like, DS9 is probably my favorite series out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But like the ending of this seemed like they were trying to put everything together because they didn't have enough episodes to do everything, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does feel a little like smushed.
Yeah.
Not like rushed, because like the pacing wasn't the issue, but it does feel like they were like, and bloop.
Right.
So you want to see just
Yeah.
like the Dominion War was like this huge part of the show, especially towards the end, and then you're like, do the final battle and everything, like that should be its own two-parter, and then like the finale could be its own just single episode, probably not two-parter.
Well, just mixing, even though Bajorans and Cardassians have always been intertwined, their stories are intertwined in such a heavy way on this show, it didn't feel that way the way this show wrapped up. Like
Yeah.
putting the whole thing with Dukat and Kai Wynn,
Yeah.
on the back burner of this finale, which
That's
focused. It is. It really is. It really is.
a pun. Ooh, Julian got the Kai win.
I want to know what the hell is going on.
So does
'cause-
Cassidy.
Yeah, she really
Oh
does.
god.
But yeah, it's so weird next to this show, being so Dominion War dominant for most of it, right? The finale, I mean. So
It like
It doesn't fill me with Pa
Yeah.
wrath, but like it does leave me wanting more. Like not
Yeah.
wanting. It's weird. It almost feels like there were some things that like okay, good, I'm fine with that, and then there's other things that I'm just kind of like. "Ugh."
like Gul Dukat should have had something better than what he got.
well, again, like that should have been its own episode, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's also, speaking of like greatest finales, he's one of the greatest sci-fi villains of all freaking time. Like
Because he had a gold Ducat.
definitely best Star Trek villain for sure.
He was good.
The dude's just amazing. Let's talk about Ben Sisko, because
Oh man.
his ending is and still is controversial. Everyone else's character progression kind of seems to make sense in What You Leave Behind. People moving on to new posts. Not everybody's going to stay on a space station forever. But Sisko going to Prophet, basically becoming a god, going to the Prophets, to this day just doesn't really sit right with me, and I know a lot of the fan base agrees with that.
Yeah. Well, he leaves his pregnant wife.
Well, he leaves, which
Yes.
was he leaves his pregnant wife, which
And
is the
his
big
son,
deal.
And
who's
his-
we're
like
gonna talk about
his
more. Yeah.
entire world.
yeah.
Who
And that's
also doesn't
what-
get to say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what gets me about the finale. It's just like we know who Ben Sisko is throughout this entire show. And I get that the prophets have their whole thing and they chose him and everything since the first episode. But in the end, he wouldn't choose to leave Jake
Yeah.
and his wife. You
No.
know, especially considering how the show fucking began. So that to this day is still one of those weird moments where it's like between Sisko and then the fact that they don't even show in a flashback Jadzia for a minute is what really like grinds my gears about the ending. Like the rest of it, I'm like, yeah, sure. Quark, love him. He had great, Nog, fucking Nog,
Mhm.
love that kid. But it's
Gets
just
a
like
promotion, unlike Harry.
yeah, I'm like fucking Nog's lieutenant now. That's amazing. And the fact that it was one of Sisko's last actions,
I
but
love
it's
that.
just like Sisko though. I'm like, where did he Sisko?
Yeah.
I know where he went, but like, why did he
Yeah.
leave
Get off
me
my
behind?
bridge.
God damn.
Well, whereas TNG's ending was sort of like a happy. I want to say a happy ending for everyone. It felt like
Mhm.
that they were all in the right place. This was
Yep.
sort of like this melancholic sadness at the
There's
end.
like some Shakespearean shit.
yeah,
And
like
I
Yeah.
get
There
Deep
was-
Space
it-
Nine's
there was-
depressing, but
Definitely the tone of the end, the breaking up of a family.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we ask the next question, which is going to dive more into Cisco leaving his pregnant wife, which is a big deal, I do want to read Rob's comment. what you leave behind is perfect for DS9, excellent in every way, but it doesn't quite rise to the level of exceptional in the way that All Good Things does. So yeah. He's also he goes, what, they were telegraphing his fate ever since like halfway through season 5, or at minimum since the start of season 7 it was the emissary's path. I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't need to be. It didn't need to
Yeah.
be, you know, like
It's just, it's a lot. I get that that's what happens to him being the person that the prophets chose, but like, it's also doesn't go with him as a character though.
no, it doesn't.
Like,
It
I
doesn't
get
go
it's
with his
the
character
path
at all.
that was chosen for him, but Sisko's also the person that's walked the line between being the person the prophet needs, being a Starfleet captain, like,
Yeah.
or commander, whatever you want to call
Captain.
it. Exactly.
Captain.
Dude,
He has a whole base.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a
que-
space station.
question for you guys. So the Cisco that talks to Cassidy in the in the realm thing.
The White Room.
Yeah. Is
The
that
Celestial
Twin
Temple.
Peaks.
Yeah. Is that him at that moment, like when he disappears, or is it like a future one? What do you guys think? Like he
I
seems
think that's
so
him.
at that moment, or
Technically, I think it's like in the first episode where Cisco first experiences time in a non-linear sense when
And he says that,
gets in
yeah.
touch with the prophets. So I feel like when you see him later on, it's happening, but it's probably all simultaneous to him, but it's
Mhm.
not what we think. It's not like him
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah, no.
Yeah. And Rob, he I agree 100% that he was embracing being the emissary, but he could still be the emissary and not join the prophets. He wasn't looking to become a god. And that's basically what he does. He joins the prophets, becomes a godlike being. He was planning to raise a family and build a house on Bajor. You know, like there's a difference between being the emissary and then being one of the prophets. I never
If yeah, if time wasn't linear for him, like he says that in the temple, right? Could he not have just come back?
no, he really could have, which is it's just
Yeah. Well,
I
that's
don't
the thing. He disappears, and then you don't know when/if he returns. So for him, it could literally be like, I was gone for half a second, but for you, it was 5 years, or blah blah blah.
Right.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
And like, I accept this as his fate. I'm not saying
Mhm.
like, oh, this didn't happen to his character. I'm not gonna say that. Like, it happened. It's not exactly what I hoped for his character, but like, prophets and wormholes, they're just gonna take
Mhm.
your dad sometimes, and you just gotta deal with it.
and it does it does need to be asked. Do you think that him leaving his pregnant wife to basically ascend like Daniel Jackson would would fly today? Like, would that fly in the current, just like the world that we live in now? Do you think there would be a fan outrage? Because I think that there would be.
I think it'd be the
honestly.
same as we had then. Like I think people
Yeah.
would be like, "Oh, that's weird," or
I think it would just
"Hey, I really liked
polarize
it."
fans. They'd
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, I loved it."
People were
eh.
polarized then too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like how, for some reason, the Word doc it's like underlined prophets would fly today. I'm like, damn, they might. They can do what they want, you know.
Oh,
But yeah,
man.
like that is the only thing that gets me is towards the end of the season. Like, I know how much he's gone through being the emissary and being a captain, but then it's still like, but he just is trying to start this life though. Like his
Yeah,
wife is pregnant. Like you
Mhm.
wouldn't get her pregnant and then leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's like, sorry, honey, you gotta go do prophet stuff.
yeah.
Have fun raising her child by yourself.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seemed like a peace out.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other major
He
issue,
promised.
which he did.
Also,
He did promise
He promised. He hugged her tummy and he promised,
he'd be back.
I'm coming back. Didn't say when. That's a
Let's talk
technicality.
about the other major issue that you brought up, and that's the blatant removal of any mention or flashback scene of Jadzia from
Oh my
the silly
God.
montages in this
Those
finale, or any mentions at all. I mean, this is just such a
The montages
slap
make
in the
me
face.
tear up though.
Really?
Yeah.
The only one that made me
It was Bashir and Miles.
The Bashir Miles.
I like the Sirik one. Like I loved his, like him and his dad. Like
Yeah.
that was the one
Yeah.
that was like, oh, maybe it's because I'm a
I
dad
tear
now,
up
but
when
it's just like,
when Jake thinks of Cisco.
yeah,
I'm just like,
Yeah.
damn, why you leave Jake behind though?
Yeah.
yeah,
Ugh.
man,
But the absence of Jadzia is felt
it's so
in this
weird.
finale.
Yeah.
It just
They could have easily just when they do the flashback scene with Worf and
Esri.
Dax. I'm just saying Dax. they go through and it's just the two of them interacting, like this version of Dax, and it's like you could have
Makes no
easily thrown
sense.
in
Yeah.
earlier, or even when you showed Bashir stuff, like them interacting with Jadzia, like Cisco and Jesus Christ, how do you not have a Cisco flashback with her?
Mm-hmm.
They're like the oldest time buddies, and it's just, I get that like the character is dead, but still in the finale where, you know, Jadzia was in the majority of the show, you think you would show her even for like half a second in a flashback.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what went on with the people that produced that show, and I know we've seen the documentary and there's
Yeah.
not the best of blood between certain people and things, but it's like, damn, you really, that is doing an actor dirty by not showing her at all.
On Twitch, Rob is wondering if there was a legal dispute at the time.
There was, because I don't know how much it really matters in the grand scheme of things, because I think that part of her deal with leaving or not coming back was like, I think she specifically stated something like she didn't want any mention of her because of the way that she was treated, which you can't blame her for. It might honestly be the other way around, but either way, I mean, you find a way to make it happen. She was Dax for six seasons of this show. You don't do a finale without some, look or mention of her.
Yeah, even
It's like
Tasha
when
made it back for the finale of TNG.
It's like when the 100 killed off Lexa for ratings and then like kept trying to plug her in random spots in the show afterwards, and you're like, don't fucking bring back
Don't
ADC.
do it. Yeah, don't
This
do
is
it.
rude as shit. You pay her to be a full-time role, damn it. Fear the Walking Dead got her. It's okay. She's doing better things.
Mm-hmm.
1 second, guys. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm still salty.
Dog break. Dog
okay.
has to get to a new couch.
Aw.
Yeah,
Puppers.
she was locked in Cecily's room.
Oh,
recording at home. Okay, go
I
to
hear
a couch.
the puppy
Yeah,
pats.
the-
I almost
the-
said
Yeah, I
puppy
can hear the little
paws.
tick, 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 tick.
The patters
Go
of
to
the
a
puppy
couch.
paws.
Go to a
The
couch.
wooden floors are too slippery. Too slippery. Too slippery.
Karen, can you get her to a couch, please?
This is still a fun finale, though.
Do we have? Because listen,
Mhm.
I know that I think we just spent most of the time shitting on it a little bit, but this is actually, like Brittany just said, a good finale. Favorite moments from this one?
I loved when Kira and when they were laughing outside the doors.
Yeah.
Stole mine.
I
goddammit.
loved it. It's such a good moment.
We're ready to knock down the door, but we can't get in.
Oh.
I think my favorite moment is the final moment between Cork and Odo. Like, it's still one of those things that, like, I quote with my cousin all the time where it's like, that man loves me. It's written all over his back. Because, they had that whole banter the whole show, and you could tell that there was still, like, this sort of, like, love or camaraderie underneath it all, as much as they would, like, get on each other's nerves or whatever. And the fact that after Odo leaves and fucking morphs into a puddle. I mean, it was fun.
In a tuxedo.
It was fun.
In a tuxedo.
He got Kira in the end. But the fact that when she takes over the station and Quark is, having people bet and everything already, she's like, no, if I catch anybody doing that, you'll have 15 days in the brig or whatever. And he's like, ooh, 15 days. Can I bring my own pillow? And it's like so perfect because I'm like, I fucking love you, Quark. Like, the first episode of that show, you don't expect to like him as much as you do by the end. And he's like, some things, as much as things change, they always stay the same. And I'm like, you're Odo now.
I have to read
So
Rob's because this is an amazing moment as well. It's a dark moment, but it's absolutely amazing. A lot because of Andy Robinson's portrayal as Garrick. The look of absolute horror on Garrick's face when Wei Yun broadcast announces that Lacarian City has been leveled 2 million dead, and as we learn later, I think 800 million Cardassians killed during the Dominion trying to wipe them out. Just absolutely just brutal. I would say my favorite moment, other than the laughing, which is really good, is see now I have to think because I didn't have a backup because
I'll do
also,
another one.
Do another one. That's a good one too.
I love them.
There she is.
Yeah. Oh, I love the moment when Garrick and Bashir were talking, like near the end. Like I always liked them together, and he's like, well, I'll come visit you. He's like, maybe.
maybe.
I
Well,
know.
maybe.
I always wanted Garrick and Bashir to be together.
Yeah.
I got
Such
one.
a weird
Go ahead,
relationship,
Og.
but you want it.
O'Brien packing up at the end and that as he's leaving and that and spotting a little red army man down on the floor and that his Alamo set. And I think that's pretty much what triggers the whole montage.
Alamo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love how he picks another battle.
My favorite my other favorite moment, because I flew out of my chair when it happened, because I forgot that this happened for whatever reason. I hadn't watched the DS9 finale in a while. The battle's going bad in space, right? Like people are in the infirmary. It looks like they might not win, and then the founder starts leveling Cardassia, so all of a sudden the Cardassian ships turn on the Dominion ships and join the Federation Romulan and Klingon task force. And it's just this fucking badass moment where you know exactly what's happening.
You're like, that's right, we got the space Nazis now.
And it's like the Cardassians have done horrible things, but at that moment you just want to yell with Damar and yell with the people on the ships who are changing sides and going for Cardassia.
For Cardassia.
Yeah, but now the Cardassians have changed hands.
Yeah. Oh boy.
It's a full house.
My last question is, I know it's more of a if wishes were fishes thought, but do you guys think that we ever get a continuation of the story in some? I know there've been comics, but I don't really count those.
Two.
Well, yeah, maybe in some medium television, maybe a film. I know Avery Brooks never wants to return to the franchise, so that makes it difficult.
He's a couple years ago. He said it depends on the story, right?
Right.
Like what he really wants is him and Jake to be together and it to be a father-son story. So if they do that.
Love that.
Like, I would love to see that, and especially since he left for such a long time. That would be an interesting story to tell.
Yeah.
And especially his newborn kid, right?
Yeah.
I would hope that.
I mean,
yeah.
The documentary really pisses me off in a really big way, because they pitched the first episode of season 8. I'm like, okay, Ira, so what are you gonna do about it, dude?
Make it at least a comic book series. Like, I would read the shit out of that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But also, why kill Nog?
But I mean, what a moment though, right?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
And Bashir being part of Section 31. Oh my God, that's such a cool.
Yeah, it's a cool. Dude, we could write season 8.
All I know is season 2 of Picard. They showed that tablet, so you never know.
You never know.
Something's
That's a
up.
very
Yeah.
good point.
That would
That's
be
a very
really
good
cool
point.
if they start hooking all the shows and filling in the gaps together now that they're like, ooh, Star Trek's popping again.
I would
Yeah.
love to see where DS9 is.
Mhm.
Kira
Well,
and
we
all
saw
that.
Even if it's
DS9
just,
and
like,
Lower Decks.
Sisko's back.
Sure.
We could be like,
Mariner definitely had a drink there.
she did.
And bad
with
shit
that hair.
happened. Bad shit happened.
That shit did.
Let's move on to another episode where we're gonna disagree with Rob even more. And that is-
It's okay, Rob.
It's
I
okay,
still
Rob.
like
We
it as
love
a
you, man.
finale. I'll watch it
Yeah.
anytime.
Yep. No, me too. Let's talk about Voyager's Endgame. I know that there is a lot of back and forth on this one. But as far as my list go, it's my second favorite Trek finale, and think it's very good. How about you guys?
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah.
My
It's good.
second,
Second
favorite
favorite.
Trek finale. Third favorite, DS9.
Yep. Same.
Yeah.
And only because Voyager does slightly more things that I liked tied up than DS9. But the
Fair.
one thing, though, that makes it not
know,
better than
I know,
TNG
I know.
is fucking 7 in Chakotay. What
my
the
God.
fuck?
It felt like a movie on TV.
It did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this one does feel like a movie. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Wish I had popcorn.
But it also falls into
Spirit.
the DS9 issue where if you were just jumping into this episode, you wouldn't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, I was only on season 6 when I watched the finale, and I still didn't know half of what was going on.
Yeah.
So to be like, I was just like, what the fuck? Who the fuck? How the fuck? It was
Yeah.
awesome though, and I loved
Mhm.
it.
Even-
go ahead, Hawk.
Even though it did what I previously criticized in that, about having a final boss and that, it seemed to do it right.
Well,
You
it's
know.
it's Alice Cridge, right? As the
God.
Borg Queen. Like
Borg
you
Queen,
can't
yeah.
fuck that up. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's good.
Mm.
One of the popular complaints about this finale, and one I don't necessarily agree with, is that everything is wrapped up with a pretty bow in this, right? And that's too easy. Do you guys agree with that?
I mean, this was always about them, the voyage home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was always their end game was to get home, and that, and it's like I think they told it in a really interesting way. That like Janeway in the future and that, and how they had got home, and the people they had lost along the way, and that, and wanting to go back and correct that and finding a way to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I love how they came home, but
Oh, me too.
I know. I would love to see the repercussions of them coming home. Like, I would
Yeah.
love to see what happened to that crew
Yes.
after all that time.
Yeah, that's how I feel like I don't agree that it wraps everything up too nicely. Because, like, it still leaves room, like how TNG did, to be like, okay, they finished this part, but it still leaves it open for more to happen. Because it's like, now that they're back to Earth, what?
What happens to the
Is
Maquis
Janeway's
crew? What
husband
happens
still
to
gonna be
7 of
waiting for
9?
her?
Yeah.
Like, are Seven and Chakotay actually gonna still be a thing? Like, it
Nope.
is the future that
Nope.
future Admiral obviously not. Is the I'm so glad. Oh. I remember when it happened. Oh my god.
You
Picard,
and
I was like,
everyone were.
"Someone is gay." I didn't know.
I mean,
One day
yeah.
at a time did that as a joke, and then it
Yeah.
happened a week later on Picard, and I was like, "Fuck you!" Anyway,
I want to read. I just want to.
digress. I don't
I want
remember.
to read Talix's comments here. One, the first comment, she says, obviously not a Voyager fan. I was just happy Voyager was over. She ducks. And then, but something that I do agree with her on is Voyager has always echoed TNG, and the happy ending is part of that. And that leads to my point too, right? Like, I think that things were wrapped up with a pretty boy. Yeah, like things were left open for sure, but like their story in the Delta Quadrant was wrapped up neatly in a very big way. But I mean, what else do you want to do, right? Because like they literally did Year of Hell. Like they've gone through 7 seasons of hell. They've lost people. They've been through some weird shit and made to make some hard decisions to get to this point. Like they deserved to get home the way that they got home. Like Janeway says this in the episode, right? She goes, "There's got to be a way that we can have our cake and eat it too," and they do. And I think that's really good.
They got a new replicator gel pack and they ate that cake. I will say that having watched all of Voyager, the character I think that gets the best ending and the most characterization, surprisingly, was Neelix. He is the one that, like, where he ends on the show, I was like, fuck, like, this dude settles down, gets married, finds other Talaxians, and is now going to be, like, the emissary or something.
Delta Quadrant
Delta
ambassador,
Quadrant
emissary.
ambassador.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, Neelix got the best ending out of everybody in this show. But I do see how it's not quite the finale that like gives each character a specific ending, or like you never see obviously Janeway and Chakotay get together, which would have just been like, wow, if it happened. You basically have like Tom and B'Elanna, who have a happy, like they have a kid together, so that's like the heartfelt, touching thing. And then it's kind of just like, well, now what happens to everybody else when they get back to Earth? It's awesome how they get there. It's amazing. But then it also is so abrupt afterwards. It's just kind of like, we're back. And then it's like,
set a course for home. Yeah.
So good. But like, now they have Borg technology. What the fuck is going on?
Rob wrote, I honestly would have been happier if the ending didn't have them get home, but had them commit to the quote unquote to the journey being what's important, to which I don't agree with.
But they already did. They had that moment where they said, like, we don't care how long it takes. We don't care if we die on the way there. It's always about the journey. We're not going to take the
especially
shortcut.
because they thought they were heading back
that.
to the Delta Quadrant, right? Like,
So they had that moment, but I'm glad if they never would have got home, people would have been like, what the fuck was the point of that show?
Exactly.
The fact that she pulled it off, though, is the reason why I think Janeway is one of the best captains, in my opinion, because I'm like, holy shit, she got them home.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, without them actually returning home, it would have felt incomplete.
Yeah, agreed. Brittany, you've brought this up a couple of times already, but the other finale, the big complaint here, season 7 complaint, which is definitely awful. It doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the episode, I don't think. Is the 7 Chakotay romance that just seemed to come out of the holodeck. It is right actually out of the holodeck. It is
literally.
It is.
Fucking terrible.
Oh man,
Just makes no sense. The whole show, she's so like queer coded the whole way, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, like obviously you can see her as either gay or like asexual or something, and then like out of nowhere, I mean, they tried to throw in the fact that she's like, well, before I became Borg, I had this relationship, or vice versa. Well, not before she became Borg. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a whole thing where she references like one time having a relationship with some dude, so you're like, whatever, happens to the best of us. Speaking of Pride Month, but anyway. I need a moment. Okay. But then, yeah, out of nowhere, it's just like all of a sudden she has this urge to like romance Chakotay. Like she uses him, quote, as the holodeck simulation, but she's just like, oh, he was the most likely subject, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, 7, but like,
It's like Shepard trying to romance
no
Jack
sense.
in Mass Effect 2.
I don't
I
get
know
that
that's just a
but
me
I
reference,
agree.
but
I agree.
Oh, I understood.
yeah.
It's
Um,
just
It
so
would have
forced.
made more sense if they were like sprinkling a romance throughout the season, but it was nowhere.
No, it's out of like right field. Just bam. Actually, left field. It's not even.
Yeah.
It's somewhere. There's not
It's
even
in
a
one of the
baseball thing.
fields.
This isn't
One
Cisco.
of
There's no
those.
baseball involved. But
Feels like a
Um,
Berman field.
Yeah.
Oh, when Kira picks up the baseball, oh, I love that moment too.
Oh, that's a
Oh.
great
Yes.
moment. Yeah. And she just gives it the quick toss.
Ah,
Hawk, we were
I'm
talking
thinking of the
about
restaurant.
the forced Chakotay 7
Yeah. Like
romance.
it comes out of nowhere.
Hawk's
There's
like,
no
that's why I went to
indication.
the bathroom.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It feels inserted for no reason, and that, like, honestly, I would have been happier seeing Janeway and S7 together.
And like
Yeah.
Jerry
Yeah.
sells it. She's that good of an actress that like she makes it believable. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you're like, you don't have to do this. I
No.
don't care how much they're paying you. You don't have to do it. You know. Like sometimes I was like, honey, just turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
Just rise up.
You don't have to be on Borg.
Um,
Don't assimilate to this.
the the idea for this finale in the writers' room was always for them to have the Borg be the adversary here, right? Like it had to be the Borg. They were like this was the Borg show, right? As I think Reg says in the future scenes, like Janeway probably actually more of a Borg expert than Jean-Luc Picard, and he was assimilated, right? Like she literally wrote the book on the Borg. So to have them not only face off against the Borg to end the show, but Alice Creed returning as the Borg Queen for the first time since First Contact was just awesome. And then to have this really badass future Janeway, who's just like the epitome of everything we love about her, coming back to help. Yes, it's another time travel finale, but it works. Did you guys like the Borg and the future Janeway storyline?
I loved all that.
Mhm.
It was insane, but I loved it.
I like
Yeah.
future Janeway. She was like
Yeah.
a hardcore, like badass.
And she was like, "Oh, I remember when I used to be an optimistic little twat like you." And Jamie was like, "Hey." And she's like, "I also stopped drinking coffee." And Jamie was like, "You're not me." It was their whole dynamic was amazing, and then the fact that you're like, I mean, you guys have heard my recap, but that whole, oh, I'm gonna surrender to the Borg and be caught or whatever, and then you're like, oh man, oh no, she's really caught, and then it's like, ah, bitch, I injected myself beforehand, and then she's like, ooh, my arm, like this is. I need to just record myself recapping all the endings, but this is the ending that lives in my mind rent free, where I have voiced over every single aspect of it. I'm just like, Chakotay, I love you, bleh.
Dude,
Like-
my one of my favorite moments, and we'll get into this in a second, but like speaking of just future Janeway, like, dude, she rips off a Klingon. Like, like she rips off
Double
a
dealing
fucking
the
Klingon. Like, I love that.
Double dealing Klingon. That was
Oh,
fantastic.
It's so brilliant. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about favorite moments of Endgame. Hawk, go ahead.
Mine's written in all
Her-
caps.
Her visiting future Tuvok. When the sickness
Yeah.
took hold of him.
Damn, that
yeah.
was mine.
That
Love
scene
that
always stands out, and that him just like caught in some like kind of like recursive loop in his own head, not trying to figure things out, and
He's so
Yeah.
good, Tim Russ.
So
he
good.
is so good.
Yeah. Oh, Harry's Pips.
Yeah. Pips
Harry
out for
becomes
Harry.
the captain, and it gets erased.
Well, I hope in the future he's still a captain.
Yeah, no, you got to think, right?
He better be.
If
If Nog can be a lieutenant, Harry can be a captain. God damn it.
Sorry, I was laughing at a comment in Twitch where Spotted Giraffe wrote, "Husband just asked if Hawk was Patrick Stewart's more Jack son." You are not more Jack than Patrick Stewart. No one is
I am
more
not
Jack
more
than
Jack.
Patrick
No
Stewart.
way. No.
I mean, in
no.
this picture, yes.
Well,
Maybe.
yeah.
Oh,
He is
Patrick,
ripped.
Patrick Stewart is like
I
in
know, he's
his
ripped.
80s, and he has a six pack.
I've seen him flip pages of sonnets, wearing his little tank tops and shit. You're like, damn,
Yeah.
his arm's still strong, lifting all that Shakespeare.
Yeah, my favorite moment, I already said, is when she double deals the double dealing Klingon. She's like, "Oh, you're not gonna uphold our bargain, bitch, please," and just takes it right off his hands, and then it's just like, "Oh, you're gonna shoot your phasers at me? I got a blade of armor, bitch." So good. And then every scene that she shares with herself
Yep.
is just the act. Like, I mean, the technology wasn't like super good for that then, but they made it work so well that you thought this was actually a future Janeway talking to a younger Janeway. It was that good. I mean, listen, Kate Mulgrew is Yes, I mean, like,
Claps
brilliant.
around.
So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Brittany.
I have many favorite moments. I gotta think. It's gotta be fucking donut hole Voyagers in the sphere. Jute comes out of the sphere like a fucking munchkin. You know what I mean? Like it was just like if you wanted to make a donut complete by filling the hole in with the donut hole, that is what Voyager did to me.
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazing.
I do like Janeway's line there, right? When she goes, sorry, we'll call ahead next time.
Yeah, right. It's so good. The fact that they're like all on alert, they're ready to fight. They're like, oh, it's the fucking Borg. We're all gonna die. And then she just like,
Yeets out of that thing.
what's up, son? It was great. It's either that or the whole like it's about the voyage scene where the whole crew like you can tell how much of a family they are and they're like, I don't care how long it takes, we'll do it together.
Indeed.
Yeah.
This is a great finale. This is just it's so good, and I'm
It's
glad
fun.
that we finally got to talk about it. I've been wanting you to get to this point forever, Britt. So
Well, I watched
anything-
it twice in the
I
last
know,
month.
I know. Anything else that we want to talk about before we get to some fun facts? Go ahead, Hawk.
There was one thing I didn't like about it, and that is
makeup.
the makeup. Yes, thank you. And that I think Blast had mentioned it before. And
Tom
that, but they did-
Paris is.
So-
I
fucking-
know,
Tom
like,
Paris'
come on.
fucking face.
Jesus.
That's the thing. The only thing that kills me about Star Trek is like I get sci-fi, like they love to do their prosthetics and shit, but anytime they age up people, sometimes I'm like, they're not 80 though. If you're making them look 40, just make them look 40. Throw like a little bit of crow's feet here, like
Tom
he
literally looks like Bill Murray's character at the end of Kingpin. Like,
he looks like Biff in fucking Back to the Future, but when he's like
Yes,
older
yeah,
and
that too.
balding, like it's
Yeah.
like what is
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at Robert, Duncan McNeil now, he looks great.
He looks
he does.
fantastic.
He looks really good. All right, guys, let's get into some fun facts about this finale. We've already read one of them at the top. Who wants to read the second fun fact about all
I'll
good
do
things?
it.
Hit it.
Fun
All
facts.
right. So, fun fact. Early versions of All Good Things, which was written by Brandon Braga and Ron Moore, included the Borg attack at Wolf 359, which was an inside job, as a fourth main timeline, with Picard appearing as Locutus. Oh, man.
That would have been really cool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently Hugh was to help, like supposed to come help him. Like,
Oh.
I know.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. It
That
would
would've
have been
been
Well, they
nice.
made a huge mistake not doing that.
Yeah.
Just kidding. They didn't want to traumatize Cisco again.
No. Who wants the next one on Cisco?
Me.
yeah, you go for it, Brittany.
All right, Hawk, you get
Oh,
the next
sorry.
one.
Of the controversial notion of turning Cisco into a god at the conclusion of What You Leave Behind, Ira Burr comments, it was perfect on so many levels because of the franchise and how fans have treated captains like gods since the days of Kirk. And they might as well be gods to the fans. I wanted to literalize it.
That's
Which
fair.
I say, I mean, he's got a point, but I still don't like
Mm.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Hawk,
I feel
you
like
want-
he came and said that after the fact.
right.
He's like, gotta justify
Yeah.
this real quick.
Yeah. Last fun fact, Hawk.
So one of the primary goals in crafting Endgame's plot was to create a story which would be, quote, epic in scope. In fact, the installment's writers wanted to at least match, if not exceed, the quality of previous Star Trek series enders.
They came close.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
close. They
But
did
they
a
threw in
really
that
good job.
goddamn Seven Chakotay romance and fucking ruined it. You could have been
Oh.
better than TNG, damn it.
I really want you to recap the Enterprise finale now, Brittany.
Yes.
Well, maybe I'll watch it with you,
You
depending
should do
on
the
what's
watch
on.
along with
Yeah,
us.
you should.
Yeah.
You can see me break
I'll call it-
down slowly.
I'll drink a soda. This is one of the first sodas I've had in a long time, and I can't get through it. It's so sugary. I keep sitting at it.
Aw.
I
and
had
it's
one
like-
yesterday. I couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
No, it's too
Yeah.
much.
I've been drinking Ramune, and then I was like, oh, so I'll just have normal soda, and I was like, this is not the same.
Let's get into the subspace poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies are open.
And we asked you guys on Twitter, what is I let the TOS one out to give the TNG finale, the TNG era finales, their due course and justice. What is your favorite TNG era finale? And 56% said All Good Things, 30% said What We Leave Behind, and 14% said Endgame. We got a good amount of votes there too. So thank you everyone for participating in that. Let's get to the mailbag, and who wants? We'll go the opposite way. So we'll start with Hawk this time. You want to take the top?
All right. So Hormone Alex wrote Voyager. The show was about getting home, and the finale achieved that goal. A showdown with the Borg and double helping of Janeway just add to the goodness.
Yeah.
There's no way but the Janeway.
Very true. Who wants? So Eric, you'll do Feffnogs.
Feffenog wrote, all good things. They managed to wrap up a series, but not really, for the movie was coming right after. That being said, they pulled off 3 timelines, and it really felt like 3 timelines. They managed to go full circle with The Trial Never Ends, and the final scene was just perfection. I assume there's a kiss
Yep,
there.
chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Yeah.
It gets me every time.
Oh, that's funny.
Same. Everybody's right. And then Rob wrote, my favorite Trek series finale is definitely All Good Things, and by a fair margin. AGT is a model series ender, built less around plot, a necessity for an episodic TV series, but rather around giving every character a chance to shine. I agree. TNG may have started as a sci-fi adventure of the week show, but over 7 years that evolved into being a vessel to tell stories about what we really care about, this family. All Good Things capture that perfectly. No matter which of the 3 timeframes they're in, this finale and the show were and are about the TNG family, where we're always welcome.
We are always welcome with the TNG
Yay.
family. It's true.
Where
That's how I
everybody
feel about it.
knows.
Yeah, and that is our mailbag, and that is our show. We're not done with finales this week. I'm counting down the days for These Are the Voyages and Giraffes.
Oh, God.
For Giraffes reaction watching that the first time. It is
And
going to
Brittany's.
be a hoot. Yeah,
I'm ready to
so
be
and
angry.
Brittany's.
Hawk, you should just come. Might as well. Just join us.
Yeah, just
Depending on what
everybody should
time,
be
I
on
might be
this
able to
pod.
watch.
All
I think
right.
we're doing
10
doing
o'clock?
the watch at 8:30.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta look again. But we're doing it at a time on Saturday, and it's happening, and we're gonna drink a lot. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I got to be there.
If you haven't joined our Patreon, those episodes are available at the $2 and above level, so you get access to those. If you want to learn how to make the drink from Aaron, just $3 more at the $5 level, you get access to Trek Cocktails with Aaron, and those are great
Trek
videos as well.
Cocktails.
Aaron does a great job. If you're not going to join us for These Are the Voyages, and I mean, more power to you, honestly, we'll be back next week with episode 36, and we are continuing a very long run of the Best of Species, and we're keeping it up with DS9 here. We are going, and TNG actually, Cardassians, Best
I
of
thought
the
you were gonna say Ferengi.
Cardassians. This is going to be a fun one, I think. Lots to talk about with the Cardassians. That's going to do
Am I
it,
allowed
guys.
to show up with a spoon?
You can have a spoon. You
No,
gotta,
I feel like
yeah.
that's very racist.
It's
if I
almost
show up with a
racist,
spoon,
but
so
I
won't.
mean, whatever.
If I had good prosthetics, then it wouldn't be. But
Good
I
prosthetics.
don't.
Yeah. But join us for that one next week. For now, that's going to do it for myself. So I'll say for Hawk, for Eric, for Brittany, live long and prosper.
I want to know-
Oh, I'm kidding. I'm
That's the
gonna
best
do-
ending. Do it.
It is.
Where's Cisco? The prophets. I'll turn up my
I want to know
light.
what the hell is going on.
Let me try that again. I will say for Hawk, for Eric, for Brittany, live long and prosper. Majram. Good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.